Okay, let's move on to letter B, where we gotta first check to have it, see if we have a GCF. You have A is 1, B is -1, C is -12. There is no the GCF is 1 between 1, 1, and 12. So we took care of the first step. Let's get to our magic X. 1 times -12 is -12. And then my B is -1. So we're going to think, what are our factors of 12, -12, that if we were to add them, we'd get -1. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to jot it down. So I got a 12. I've got 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and that's it. So which pair of those numbers, if you were to multiply them, would give you a 12, a -12, sorry. But if you were to add or subtract them, you give a -1. Well, hopefully you keyed into the 3 and the 4. All right? Now, one of these needs to be negative so that I subtract to get -1. Because this is a negative, that means that my 4 needs to be negative because 3 minus 4 is -1. Okay, so this is just basic arithmetic and knowing your multiplication facts. I can't teach it. You either know it or you don't. I know that 3 times -4 is -12, so my my magic X is complete. My two numbers that I found were +3 and -4. So now let's get to the box. Get your 2 by 2. First corner gets the first term. Bottom corner gets the last term, -12. Then my diagonal times X times X, okay, is GCF time. I start here with the vertical. What is the GCF? Well, I have 1 and -4 is just 1. GCFs between my two variables, 1x. Done. All right? My GCF between the 3 and the 12, well, what's the biggest number that goes into both of them? Hopefully, if you think about it, I'm not going to wait for you. The GCF between 3 and 12 is just 3. And because this bottom corner doesn't have an X, the GCF for the two terms is just 3. That's not 3x. All right? Now let's go this way. The GCF, there's an invisible 1 right here. GCF between 1 and 3 is just 1 between the variables X. The GCF between 4 and 12, hopefully, if you think about it, the greatest number that goes into these two numbers is 4. But because this, from my magic X, is a negative number, you see that negative sign right there? That means my GCF is negative. So, I take my GCFs, write them as two linear binomials. There's my answer. If you box this, do the box method, you'll end up, that's where we started, right there. You'll get the same thing. So there's the answer to letter B. All right, let's try one more. And I might move just a tad bit faster because it's the same thing every single time. You're just using different numbers. Do I have a GCF? Not at this time. You have 1, 2, and 8. The greatest number that goes into all three is just 1. So we don't have to worry about a GCF. Set up your magic X. A times C is -8. My B term is -2. What numbers are multiples of -8? When you multiply them, you get a -8. When you add or subtraction, you get a -2. Well, let's list what we got. 4 and 8, I have 1 and 8, 2 and 4, and that's it. So these are your only pairs, your only choices. The 2 and the 4, that's where the magic happens. But this is a -2. So we're not adding these two, we're subtracting. Which one gets the negative sign? Well, if my B is negative, then the larger number is going to get the negative sign because 2 minus 4 is -2. 2 minus 4 is -2. 2 times -4 is -8. I'm done. I got my magic X complete. Let's do the box. Got my 2 by 2. My first term is x squared. Next corner, -8. My diagonal, 2 times x, -4 times x. Let's go. Get your GCFs. What's the GCF between 1 and 4? Just 1. GCF between x squared and x? Just x. Done. GCF between 2 and 8, the greatest number between the two of them, 2. The GCF between the variables, there isn't one because the 8 doesn't have an x. Now let's go across. GCF between 1 and 2, 1. GCF between x squared and x, x. GCF between 4 and 8, the highest number that goes between these two is 4. But because this is a negative, my GCF is negative. There is no GCF for the x's because this one doesn't have one. Got all my GCFs on the outside, put it together. X plus 2 times x minus 4. There's your answer. Now, I did all 3. Take your time with it. I have a question here at the bottom. I'm not going to answer it. There is a shortcut, but I'm not going to tell you. Maybe you figured it out. There's a pattern. If you didn't, don't worry about it. If you did, let me know, and I'll let you tell if you're on the right track.